What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by, and if you could, please hit that subscribe button for more content. But it's May, the sun is out, and bass are officially on the move. We're deep into the post spawn, which means bass are hungry, they're aggressive, and they're looking to put on some weight. Today I'm breaking down four baits. Four baits that you need to have tied on this month in order to keep those rods bent and to catch moss bass. Let's get into it. First, we're going to be talking about covering water. And one of the baits, or two of the baits that I like to throw to cover water is going to be a chatterbait or a spinnerbait. I use these interchangeably depending on the conditions and the type of body of water I'm at the time. First, we have the chatterbait. And I like throwing this usually in dirtier water or even in some clear water, like slightly stained water. I'll throw a chatterbait. Or if there's like a lot of submerged vegetation, I'll start off with a chatterbait and throw that. But if this isn't working, then what I'll do is I'll switch up to a spinnerbait. Because sometimes, you know, the loud clacking of the blade is just too much, and they're just not interested in it. It's just too much noise. It's just too much for them. So then that's when I'll switch over to the spinnerbait, and the spinnerbait does a good job at displacing water, and without so much of the noise that the chatterbait does. And my favorite colors to throw is going to be your classic green pumpkin. This is more of like a blue Joe color, but green pumpkin still works. And if that's too much for them, then what I like to throw is some type of shad, or again, depending on the water clarity, this works well in clear to slightly stained water. But I like throwing a shad pattern color or some type of minnow looking color. So this does well with both. It imitates a shad and a minnow very well. And this is a Booyah spinnerbait, and the color is silver. I'll throw these baits along parallel to the bank, along the edge of the bank. I'll throw it along the edge of grass lines, weed lines, or just hover it right above submerged vegetation. I'll throw these in, well, mainly this is the spinnerbait. I'll throw it in, you know, wood cover or laydowns. But this works really well. These baits work really well. All right, guys, next we're going to talk about the morning heat. The water temps are pretty much in that sweet spot, and the top water bite is staying pretty much consistent. And what I like to throw during the month of May is going to be either a frog or a popper, whopper plopper. So first, let's talk about the frogs. There's two frogs that I like to throw. I like to throw a popper frog when I'm in open water and there's not a lot of a cover or anything like that. I'll throw some type of frog that has a cupped mouth. Again, this is for typically for open water. This thing is pretty beat up. Caught lots of fish on this. And whenever you are around a bunch of vegetation and cover and wood, I like to throw a frog that has a more pointed nose. This is the spro frog. I like that it has a yellow bottom to it, because typically what the bass are seeing is the bottom. They can't see the top of the frog. So whenever you're picking out a frog, you know, don't buy it because the top of the frog looks amazing, which a lot of them do, but that's just to get you to buy it. What you really want to pay attention to is that bottom. And I like to throw this around cover, on top of lily pads where there's thick matted vegetation. I'll throw this on there too, and around wood cover. And this thing gets bit, especially early in the morning time when all those fish are just hitting at the surface. Throw this around some cover, man, and I guarantee you'll get a blow up of your lifetime, dude. Next, what I like to throw, if the frog isn't working or grabbing their attention, and you're again in more open water, I like to throw some kind of popper, whopper plopper. I was using this a lot until 6th Sense came out with their version of a whopper plopper, and this is called the Scramble. Just for size comparison, look at this. It has a much smaller profile. I think this works great whenever the fish have they're been pressured a lot. This works great when you want to downsize your presentation. This is a bluegill color, and this thing gets them. I love the color pattern on this one. It has somewhat of a translucent color to it, and it weighs in that perfect medium, I believe. Not quite a 1/4 ounce and not quite 3/8. This is just in between that. So try this out if you haven't looked into any 6th Sense whopper ploppers. This thing is awesome. Alright guys, next we're going to talk about my favorite, and if anyone knows me, I love to throw this. Doesn't matter what time of day, I always have one tied on. And that is a jig. And I throw this in cover, especially during the heat of the day. You want to throw this in where there's shade. Anywhere there's shade, underneath overhanging trees, shade pockets, next to structure, anything that gives off shade. And it could be any kind of vegetation that kind of canopies over the water. Throw this sucker in there, and don't work it fast. The trick to working a jig is to work it slow. Another trick you can do is you can drag it. Just drag it along the bottom slowly and leave it there. Drag it slowly and leave it there. And what that does is that head right here, this is an Arky style head, especially if you have like a soft bottom. This, and I'm not talking like if you have algae on the bottom. I'm talking if you have like mud composition or anything like that on the bottom. This is going to stir up all that mud and cause a commotion, and the bass are going to see, hey, what is that? What's going on over there? And they're gonna come and look at this thing. And if you move it too fast, some bass, they're not into chasing. Usually the bigger bass are not really into chasing. I'm talking about the ones that are heavily pressured. So yeah, I like to throw a jig. And if I have a lot of rock, I'll throw a football jig right here. This is the football jig. And if you are worried about getting snagged and stuff like that, which I've gotten snagged so many times because of throwing a jig. And like I said, I throw it in all types of cover, man. And I've lost so many jigs doing that. If you are worried about getting snagged, then just throw a Texas rig. I love throwing a Texas rig using a bellows gill. Look at that. This is AJ's Juice. It's brown and it has purple flake in it. Awesome, awesome, awesome color right here, dude. If the fish are heavily pressured, just downsize. This is the smaller version of that. Or this is just a green pumpkin one, and I ended up painting the tail. But this works just as good, especially when the bass are heavily pressured. They're not trying to eat big baits. They go for like little small baits. And you can tell the size comparison in these. This is a 2.3, I think, or 2.8. And this is a 3.8. Another thing I like to throw, and this is the last lure I was going to talk about, especially in bodies of water where they are so heavily pressured. Like everybody and their mama goes there to fish. I love to throw a drop shot rig with a robo worm. I can't stress enough, dude, like how much this gets bit. I was over at what's it called? Not Alamo Ranch, it's Lucky Ranch. I was over at Lucky Ranch yesterday, and there was a bunch of people there. Some of them were like on the little pier there. There's like a group of guys there fishing, and the bank was lined up with anglers fishing. And out of all there were a couple guys catching some, one or two here and there. Man, dude, but I can't tell you how many fish I was just yanking out of that pond, dude. And at first I started off with a spinnerbait, and I got me a couple bites. I got me a couple bass, decent sized bass. I got me a couple bass, and I was just working it right above the veg. If you've ever been to Lucky Ranch, there's a lot of submerged vegetation there. And so I was just working that spinnerbait right above say this is the vegetation. I was just working it right above the vegetation, and they'll come up and hit it. I did have a couple that missed it, but I saw them. And so then I switched up to my drop shot rig. Man, as soon as I switched up to that drop shot rig, I was getting bit left and right, pulling them out like nobody's business. And I caught a lot of bass, dude. And I could overhear like people talking like, damn, another one. They were talking about me because I was like, man, I caught like 10, maybe 12 bass. Now, mind you, there's a couple big ones there at Lucky Ranch. I did catch one big one. But when I say big, I mean like 2 pounds or something. But the other ones are like maybe a pound at most. But yeah, I was pulling them out with this. This is my favorite color to throw on a drop shot rig by a robo worm. This is, what is this? It says it's a Setsy shad, but this looks more like, to me, a minnow. This imitates a minnow super well. And the way I work this bait is I'll put it on the hook and I'll just like start shaking it. Reeling in slow, shaking it, reeling in slow, shaking, constantly shaking it. Every now and then I'll stop, pause for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then I'll start shaking it again and slowly working my reel. And man, you'll feel it. Well, the bite is a bit different on a drop shot rig. It's not a hard thump. It's more like a tick, but you'll feel it. You'll feel that tick. And usually I wait a second or two just to make sure it wasn't like I got caught in the grass on the bottom or anything like that. As soon as I see my line taking off, I put the steel to them boys. But yeah, again guys, if you're around heavily pressured bodies of water, the drop shot rig is your friend, and it'll put you on some bass and catch you moss bass. I hope y'all liked this video. Again, if you're new to the channel, welcome, thank you. I'm not very big on talking. I'm trying to work on that, you know. I'm not like a speech person where I go out and make these speeches, so I'm hoping through doing these videos I'll get better at it. But yeah, if you did like my content, subscribe to the channel. I'll have more informational videos coming out, and as well as a lot of fishing videos. Well, I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you're able to get on some fish and catch moss bass, man. Later.